Mia, can I tell you something?
Of course. You sound a little nervous.
Because I am. Tomorrow, I have my first job interview in English.
Wow, that's exciting. Congratulations. How are you feeling?
Honestly, a little excited, but mostly nervous. I've practiced my English for a long time, but I'm worried that when the interviewer asks the first question, my mind will suddenly go blank.
I think that's one of the biggest fears English learners have. Not because they don't know English, but because they want to make a good first impression.
Exactly. When I'm practicing at home, everything feels easy. But then I imagine sitting across from the interviewer, and suddenly I forget even simple words.
That happens to more people than you think. Even in your own language, job interviews can feel stressful.
Really? I always imagine confident people walking into interviews, smiling, answering every question perfectly, and getting the job.
That's not what real interviews are like. Most interviewers aren't looking for perfect English. They're looking for someone who communicates clearly, shows interest, and has a positive attitude. Making a small grammar mistake usually isn't a problem. Staying silent because you're afraid of making one is a much bigger problem.
That actually makes me feel a little better. Maybe I've been trying too hard to sound perfect.
Think about it this way. An interview isn't an English exam. It's a conversation. The interviewer wants to learn about you, your experience, your personality, and whether you'd be a good person to work with.
So, I don't need long, complicated answers.
Not at all. In fact, short, clear answers often sound more confident. It's much better to speak naturally than to memorize a long speech.
I like that. It feels much less stressful.
How about we practice together? I'll be the interviewer, you'll be the candidate. We'll go through the most common interview questions one by one. By the end of today's conversation, you'll know exactly how to answer them naturally and confidently.
That sounds perfect. I definitely need the practice.
Great. Let's imagine it's tomorrow morning. You've arrived a few minutes early. You take a deep breath. The interviewer smiles, shakes your hand, and asks the very first question.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I think I know what's coming.
Tell me about yourself. Let's see how you answer. Good morning, Jack. Thank you for coming today. Could you please tell me about yourself?
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me. My name is Jack. I'm from Canada, and I've been working in customer service for the past 3 years. I really enjoy working with people and solving problems. I'm also someone who likes learning new skills, and that's one of the reasons I'm excited about this opportunity.
Very nice. That sounds clear, friendly, and confident. Now let's talk about why that answer works. First, you introduced yourself. Then you talked about your experience. And finally, you shared something about your personality. That's exactly what interviewers usually want to hear.
I didn't try to tell my whole life story.
Exactly. Many people think, tell me about yourself means, tell me everything. But it doesn't. It means, tell me the most important things that help us understand who you are.
So I don't need to talk about where I went to primary school or what my favorite movie is?
Probably not. Keep your answer focused on your work, your education, your experience, and a little about your personality. Think of it as a short introduction, not your autobiography.
That makes a lot more sense. Can I try another answer?
Of course, go ahead.
My name is Jack. I studied business at university, and after graduating, I started working in sales. Over the last few years, I've learned how to communicate with customers, work under pressure, and solve problems quickly. I'm always looking for opportunities to improve, and I'm excited to continue growing in my career.
Excellent. I especially like the last sentence. I'm excited to continue growing in my career. It shows ambition, without sounding arrogant.
I was trying to sound positive. Not perfect, just positive.
And that's exactly the right approach. Here's another tip. Speak naturally. Don't memorize every word. If you forget one sentence, don't panic. Just keep talking. Interviewers care much more about clear communication than about perfect grammar.
That actually takes away a lot of pressure. I always thought I had to remember every sentence exactly.
No, think about having a conversation, not giving a speech. If you know the main ideas, your answer will sound much more natural.
So, a good answer usually includes who you are, what experience you have, what you've learned, and why you're excited about the opportunity.
Exactly. Simple, clear, and honest. That's much more memorable than using difficult vocabulary.
Okay, I think I survived the first question. What comes next?
The interviewer smiles, looks at your resume, and asks another very common question. Why do you want this job?
That's a great question. I'm interested in this position because it matches both my experience and my goals. I enjoy working with people, solving problems, and learning new things. I also like the way your company values teamwork and professional growth, and I'd love the opportunity to be part of that.
Very nice. That answer sounds genuine. Let's stop there for a moment. Do you know why I liked it?
Because I didn't say, I just need a job.
Exactly. Of course, everyone wants a job, but interviewers want to know why this job and why this company.
So it's better to focus on what attracts me to the position, not only on my salary or the location.
Exactly. Even if salary is important, it's usually not the best place to start. Instead, talk about learning, growing, the team, or the work itself. Those answers sound much more professional.
Can I try another answer?
Of course.
I'm excited about this opportunity because I enjoy working in a team and helping customers. I believe this position will allow me to improve my skills, take on new challenges, and continue growing professionally.
Excellent. That answer shows enthusiasm without sounding rehearsed. I especially like the phrase, I'm excited about this opportunity. It's positive, natural, and something native speakers say quite often.
I noticed I also said I believe instead of I know. That sounds more realistic.
Exactly. Confidence is good, but confidence isn't the same as certainty. Saying, I believe I can contribute, or I think my experience will help, sounds confident without sounding arrogant.
That makes sense. I guess interviewers want someone who's confident, but also willing to learn.
Absolutely. In fact, that brings us to another very common interview question. What are your strengths? Many people immediately say, I'm hardworking, I'm organized, I'm friendly. Those are good answers, but they're much stronger if you give a real example.
So instead of simply saying, I'm organized, I could say, I'm organized because I always plan my work and make sure I finish tasks on time.
Exactly. Let's imagine I ask you that question. Jack, what are your strengths?
Now I think I'm ready for it. I think one of my biggest strengths is that I'm a quick learner. Whenever I start something new, I enjoy asking questions, learning from other people, and improving step by step. I also work well in a team because I like listening to different ideas and helping others whenever I can.
That was a very strong answer. Do you know why?
Because I didn't just list 3 adjectives?
Exactly. Many people answer like this. I'm hardworking. I'm organized. I'm responsible. Those are all good qualities, but almost every candidate says the same thing.
So the interviewer doesn't really learn anything new.
Exactly. It's much better to explain why you think that's your strength. Even one short example makes your answer much more believable.
Can I try another one?
Go ahead.
I'm a very organized person. At my previous job, I always planned my tasks at the beginning of the day and made sure important work was finished first. That helped me meet deadlines and stay calm, even during busy periods.
Excellent. That sounds much more natural than simply saying, I'm organized. Now the interviewer can actually imagine you working.
My answer wasn't very long.
And that's another important lesson. You don't have to speak for 2 or 3 minutes. Usually, 30 or 40 seconds is enough. Clear answers are much stronger than long answers that go in different directions.
So quality is more important than quantity.
Exactly. Now, let's look at a few strengths that work well in many different jobs. You could say, I'm a quick learner. I work well in a team. I'm reliable. I pay attention to detail. I enjoy solving problems. These are all common, natural expressions. But remember, choose the ones that are actually true for you.
That makes sense. If the interviewer asks for an example, I'll be ready.
Exactly. Honest answers are always easier to remember than memorized ones.
Can I ask you something? What if I don't have much work experience?
That's completely okay. You can talk about university, volunteer work, part-time jobs, or even personal projects. For example, I'm a quick learner. At university, I often worked on group projects, and I enjoyed helping my classmates organize our work. That's still a strong answer.
I like that. It feels much more realistic.
Exactly. Interviewers know that everyone starts somewhere. They're not only looking at your experience, they're also looking at your attitude and your potential.
Okay, I think I'm starting to feel much more confident. But I know what's coming next. The question that almost everyone worries about.
You're right. The interviewer looks at you, smiles, and asks, what's your biggest weakness?
I think this is the question everyone hopes the interviewer will forget.
Probably, but it almost always comes up. So, how would you answer?
Well, sometimes I spend too much time checking my work because I want everything to be correct. I've been learning to trust my work more and manage my time better.
That's a very good answer. You were honest, but you also showed that you're improving. That's the key.
So I shouldn't say, I don't have any weaknesses.
Definitely not. Nobody believes that answer. Everyone has something they're working on. The interviewer isn't looking for a perfect person. They're looking for someone who knows themselves and wants to improve.
Can I try another example?
Of course.
At the beginning of my career, I found it difficult to speak up during meetings. I preferred to listen instead of sharing my ideas. But I've been challenging myself to participate more, and now I feel much more confident.
Excellent. I really like that answer. You didn't simply describe a problem. You described progress. That's much more powerful.
I noticed I used the phrase, I've been. I've been learning, I've been improving, I've been challenging myself. Those sound much more positive than saying, I'm bad at.
Exactly. Whenever possible, focus on growth. For example, instead of saying, I'm not organized, you could say, I'm working on improving my time management. Instead of, I'm bad at presentations, you could say, I'm becoming more confident when speaking in front of groups. Those answers show that you're moving forward.
So the interviewer wants to see that I can learn, not that I'm already perfect.
Exactly. Learning is one of the most valuable qualities in any employee. Skills can improve. Experience grows. A positive attitude is much harder to teach.
Can I ask something? What if I really don't have much experience?
Then be honest. You could say, I don't have much experience in this area yet, but I'm a quick learner and I'm excited to develop new skills. That's a confident answer because you're focusing on your future, not only on your past.
I like that. It feels honest. Not like I'm trying to hide anything.
Honesty builds trust, and trust is one of the most important things in any interview.
So far, this interview has been much less scary than I imagined.
I'm glad to hear that. But before we finish, there's one question that many people find even more difficult. The interviewer smiles, looks at you, and asks, why should we hire you?
A few hours ago, that question would have made me panic. Now, I think I know how I'd answer. I believe you'd be hiring someone who's eager to learn, works well with others, and enjoys solving problems. I learn quickly, I take responsibility for my work, and I'm always looking for ways to improve. I may not know everything yet, but I'm ready to work hard and contribute to your team.
Excellent. That answer sounds confident, without sounding overconfident. And that's exactly what interviewers want to hear.
I noticed I said, I believe, instead of, I'm the best candidate. That feels much more natural.
Exactly. Confidence is saying, I know what I can do. Arrogance is saying, I'm better than everyone else. There's a big difference.
So instead of trying to prove I'm perfect, I should explain how I can help the company.
Exactly. Interviewers are asking themselves one simple question: how will this person make our team better? Your answer should help them imagine working with you.
Can I try one more example?
Of course.
I think I'd be a good fit for this role because I enjoy learning, communicating with people, and finding practical solutions. I'm reliable, I work well under pressure, and I'm excited to continue developing my skills while contributing to your company.
Very nice. That answer has a good balance. You talked about your skills, your attitude, and your future. You didn't exaggerate. You didn't sound memorized. You simply explained why you could be a valuable member of the team.
I actually feel much calmer now. At the beginning of today's conversation, I thought interviews were about finding perfect answers. Now I think they're about having an honest conversation.
I couldn't agree more. A great interview isn't about using the most difficult English. It's about communicating clearly, listening carefully, and showing genuine interest in the job. Those things leave a much stronger impression than complicated vocabulary.
So, backslash is the interview over?
There's one last moment many candidates forget about. The interviewer closes the notebook and asks, "Do you have any questions for us?" And believe it or not, your answer to that question can leave one of the strongest final impressions. So, before we finish, do you have any questions for us?
Yes, thank you. I'd love to know more about the team I'd be working with. And I'd also like to ask, what does a typical day in this role look like?
Those are excellent questions. They show that you're interested in the job, not just getting a job. Thank you, Jack. That concludes today's interview. We'll be in touch soon.
Thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure meeting you. Have a great day.
Okay, the interview is officially over. How do you feel?
Honestly, completely different from the beginning of today's episode. When we started, I thought I needed perfect English. Now I realize I just need clear communication.
Exactly. Let's think about everything we've covered today. You introduced yourself. You explained why you wanted the job. You talked about your strengths. Answered a difficult question about your weakness. Explained why the company should hire you. And finally, you asked thoughtful questions at the end of the interview. That's exactly how a real interview usually flows.
And I noticed something interesting. Most of my answers weren't very long.
That's because they don't need to be. Many candidates think longer answers sound smarter, but interviewers usually prefer answers that are clear, well-organized, and easy to understand.
I think the biggest lesson for me is this. Don't memorize paragraphs. Remember ideas. If you know what you want to say, the conversation feels much more natural.
I completely agree.
And remember, every interview makes you a little more confident than the one before.
Our question for you today is simple. Which interview question makes you the most nervous, and why? Write your answer in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.
If you enjoyed today's conversation, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more relaxed English conversations, and share it with someone who's preparing for a job interview.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us. Remember, an interview isn't about having perfect English. It's about showing who you are, what you can do, and why you'd be a great person to work with.
Good luck with your next interview. Believe in yourself, speak clearly, and let your personality shine.
We'll see you in the next episode.
Bye!